Hi, my name is Stephanie, and I'm a beginner gardener who's trying to make my first container garden in my small patio space I have in my apartment. And initially I was really worried about if I would have enough space to make a garden and if I have the budget to get everything I need. And it's been an interesting journey trying to figure out what I need and how much I need. I've made a couple mistakes along the way, so I hope to share these tips to help new gardeners make their own little patio garden or container garden or budget garden that they're looking for in a way without making the same mistakes I did and having to buy a lot more than I needed. So here's the tips I made to hopefully make your gardening journey a lot easier. The first thing I want to address is that starting a container garden, or just gardening in general, can be pretty expensive, and prices can range anywhere from like $9 for a 16-quart bag of potting mix to something like the same price but for 1.5 cubic feet, or even $30 for a cubic feet of potting mix. And this is generally just a signifier of quality, but it doesn't necessarily always pan out that way. Sometimes well-known products could contain a lot of extra things that you don't want in your potting mix, like bits of plastic, and that can be sometimes an annoyance to deal with. But if you're like me, I was totally confused about how to choose what kind of potting mix I need, and especially what size I needed. After all, this is normally something that people find out from other gardeners. And so that's what I did. I looked around, tried to read as many blogs as I can and videos, and try to learn a bit about what kind of potting mix I need and how much do I need. And from what I've learned, quality matters a lot, and unfortunately this means it can get really expensive. There are not many options to get around this, but a couple ways that I could find was to ask my neighbors, or just reach out on social media such as next door to see who has extra soil that they're willing to give. And with this option, you can't be too picky, because if you won't get many options, and sometimes you might not get an offer at all. Ideally, in your potting mix, you want to aim for a light textured mix, something that contains peat moss or coconut coir or forest products. And these help make your potting mix a bit lighter, and it could hold a little bit more water. This is really important for containers because they dry out a lot faster. And if you can afford it, something like perlite or vermiculite can also help add moisture retention, and if put on the surface, can keep some fungus gnats at bay. It really helps a lot in very hot weather, or if you're expecting some very dry weather to come. So once you get some soil or potting mix, the rest of the process should be pretty easy, especially in terms of containers. There's a lot of options. So some of the easiest containers to get are these milk cartons, which you could just repurpose. Here I planted some mint. Another option is to use one of these plastic clam trays, and this could be a way to start your seedlings or get your flowers started. It's a pretty good all-purpose option, but these don't work for bigger plants like vegetables. Right, so a budget option I came up with is this cardboard box system, and this you could do with any cardboard box of any size you want. And you basically just need a cardboard box, some extra, as you can see, I cut off the flaps of this cardboard box and I put it on the bottom to serve as a wick for water, and here is something to catch water in. So it's basically a foil tray, intended for the kitchen, but I'm repurposing it as my water catcher. And they work pretty well, and they cost a lot less than a established not cardboard, but established planting container. And when you're watering this setup, you can test how much to add water by using your fingers, and testing the soil by putting your finger into soil about 2 inches deep and seeing if it's wet or dry. And if it's dry, it needs some more water. Word warning though, the bottom does tend to get soaked because it's cardboard, and when you add a lot of water, it gets pretty heavy, so you want to make sure you put this box exactly where you want to keep it. So remember, this box method does dry out faster, so you need to water it more often, and especially if you wanted to plant this outside, you have to water a little bit more regularly, but you don't want to overwater either, because water can get retained in your bottom tray. Do wind up using a plastic container like what I have back here, which is a regular plastic container, or my makeshift plastic container right here from an old bucket. Those are possible options, but you want to make sure you have enough drainage holes so water doesn't get waterlogged in the soil, and you don't drown your plant, which is pretty important. A good tip I got from a YouTube channel called Epic Gardening was to put cut up sponges or coffee filter on the bottom so that the soil doesn't come out of the drainage holes that you put. And I found this to be a pretty useful tip, especially when I want to keep as much soil in my pots as I can. So fertilizers are the next step, and this is also another tricky one which can get expensive too. Of course you can add kitchen scraps, but they do take a while to decompose and to release those nutrients. Organic material does take a lot of time to break down because it relies on microbes that are actively working on decomposing your food scraps or your organic compost. And the whole process usually takes, it could take from a couple weeks to months, depending on the weather you have. Whereas synthetic fertilizer is more immediately available because it's all the straight chemicals. In terms of store-bought fertilizer, there's a lot of options out there, and I find the synthetic fertilizers tend to be a lot cheaper, whereas the organic fertilizers are more expensive for a smaller amount. However, I found that organic fertilizers are a lot better to use because they're more of a complete nutrient for your plants. They usually contain the micronutrients you need, so you don't have excessive NPK levels, because organic fertilizers are more balanced. They contain the micronutrients, whereas a lot of synthetic fertilizers tend to go overboard on nitrogen. I hope this information can help you get your garden started if you have been struggling to get your own garden. Planting food can be something both relaxing to do and a way to eat more healthily. Also, I want to acknowledge that food insecurity impacts people of color disproportionately. Food that is affordable should not have to be nutritionally deficient. Food should be a right, not just an option. I'll put a link to a good article by Civil Eats on the subject of food and scarcity that you can check out. Although container gardening can't fix the systemic problems, it's my hope that gardening can offer some semblance of food accessibility. Sharing knowledge and sharing tools to fellow gardeners will also help make gardening more accessible to all. Thanks for watching. I hope you've enjoyed what you've learned, and let's grow one container at a time.